What is going on, Mariners fans? It is Pint Size Analyze here today with another video about the recent shocking revelation by Seattle Times beat writer for the Mariners, Ryan Divish, that Scott Servais and Jerry Dipoto are not under contract with the Mariners beyond 2024. This was released on the Mitt Podcast, which is hosted by Lookout Landing writers. I'll have a description, or I'll have a link to that podcast in the description where you can listen to the whole thing. I implore you to. There's a lot of very, very interesting information, but one of the most biggest details from that episode I'm going to be talking about today, and that is the potential implications of the 2024 season on the Mariners baseball operations and coaching staff going forward. So I'm going to play the clip right now.
If you're not seeing it, then you just got to move on. And like for Dipoto, the window's now. I mean, those guys they don't have a contract. They're lame duck status right now, so they don't.
And in what, year 8? They're deep.
I mean, yeah.
Okay, you'll just have heard that 13-second clip that I've added to the episode, and in that clip, he talks about how Jerry Dipoto, or Ryan Divish talks about how Jerry Dipoto and Scott Servais are lame duck status. Now, if you don't know what lame duck status means, which I remember back in the 2021 season, him using that exact same phrase to describe Dipoto and Servais' contract situations with the Mariners, because they both were, both of their contracts with the Mariners would have ended after the 2021 season. I remember him using that same word, saying that they were lame duck status. Now it's being used again, meaning that Jerry Dipoto and Scott Servais are in their last year of their contracts. Now, they signed multi-year extensions in September of 2021 as the rebuild was nearing its end, and the Mariners still had a chance of making the playoffs at that point. It was early September of 2021. They were extended. The terms were very vague. All we knew was that it was a multi-year extension, which I believe they do on purpose. Like the press releases are done on purpose with the vagueness, so we didn't know how long that multi-year extension was for. Now we know that it was a 3-year multi-extension for 2022, 2023, which have already happened, and 2024. So, and it raises the question, would Jerry Dipoto and Scott Servais be not necessarily fired, but like their contracts, basically fired, their contracts not renewed if they do not make the playoffs in 2024, if the Mariners don't make the playoffs? It would be a really, really kind of sad situation, and I kind of want to go over both sides of it. So the first thing is I can definitely understand the argument. It would have been, if they don't make the playoffs in 2024, it will have been 9 seasons that they have made the playoffs in only one time. They will have been given a excellent core, although albeit rough supporting cast start when they came with. They will then have had the opportunity to rebuild a roster that has made it back to the playoffs and been competitive for multiple seasons, and they will have only, presumably, they will have only made the playoffs one time. Now, do I think that there's a chance that they could be extended if the Mariners are still in contention in September? Certainly, like they were in 2021. But is there also a chance that they could be outright fired if the Mariners are, 7 games or 10 games back at the division and 6 games back of the wild card in, mid-July? I think that's also a possibility. And it would really be kind of a sad thing, because we know what kind of young core Jerry Dipoto and Justin Hollander, who I'm going to be talking about later in this episode because I think he's a big part of the equation, but we know what kind of core they've put together. It's one of the best young cores in all of baseball. It's one of the best cores in franchise history. 2022 Mariners were, one of the greatest teams in franchise history. You're dealing with a franchise that has not made the playoffs many times in its history, so to make the playoffs in 2022, that was one of the, greatest, most talented constructed Mariners teams ever. And I believe that, the 2024 Mariners, like the 2023 Mariners, will also have the chance to be, or if not are, one of the most talented rosters in history. It's how far they make it in the playoffs, or whether they make it to the playoffs at all. That's really the question this year. And it makes you look at the recent moves in this offseason through a different scope. It feels like Jerry and Justin have put the gas, all gas, put the brake pedal, they've, slammed the brake pedal, all gas, through the acquisitions of Jorge Polanco and Gregory Santos, which I'll also also touch on. It was also revealed in this podcast that the Twins were asking for Bryce Miller, and they were dead set on Bryce Miller for a long time in order to get rid of Jorge Polanco, and the Mariners didn't do that. And I am very, very thankful that they did not. I think that Bryce Miller, even if he doesn't end up becoming like a frontline starter, like he has the potential to, I still think getting rid of only like a fringe top 100 prospect in Gabriel Gonzalez, who was like the main piece of that deal, I think is a really, really good acquisition, and I think definitely helps the team. But it also makes sense why it happened, and it also makes sense why the Mariners went out and got Gregory Santos. The front office wants to make sure that every avenue of improvement has been explored, if not, capitalized on, in certain situations where they feel like they can get a good player without giving up too much. So, looking at it in the scope of, this could be Jerry and Justin's last offseason, they want to go all in, is fascinating, makes a lot of sense. And it also brings up another topic. They hypothetically have 13 to 15, 12, and like 10 to $15 million to work with, hypothetically. Last year's payroll was at 145 million, and a lot of reports are saying they're at like anywhere from 130 to 135 million. So now it doesn't include like the benefits, and there's some other costs that are not factored into that, or and again, it's not all public information, so that's a major part of the challenge. But we don't exactly know what the payroll is, but they could also be leaving some payroll to gear up for a potential, hopefully really impactful trade deadline acquisition or two. They could get, a solid player making 20 million, who they would have to pay, I believe, $8 million for the rest of the season or something like that, if they were to acquire them at the August 1st or around their trade deadline. And then for the next part of this video, I want to talk about Justin Hollander, because I think he's a really, really interesting piece and factor in this whole equation of who is going to be leading the Mariners Mariners baseball operations side, who that will be going forward. So Justin Hollander, if you're unfamiliar with him, is the Mariners' general manager by title now. He was hired by the Mariners. He's worked in front offices for, I believe, I know he's worked in front offices for at least 2 decades now, and he was he came over. He was working with the Angels as, I believe, their director of scouting. And was with them for the year after Dipoto left. Dipoto's first season with the Mariners as general manager in 2016, before coming over and being hired as the assistant general manager. And then Justin Hollander started to be interviewed for general manager openings by multiple teams, I believe in the 2021-22 offseason, and maybe even the 2020 to 21 offseason as well. So he had offers, and I believe he was, in the Dipoto and Servais extensions that happened in 2021, Jerry Dipoto was officially promoted to president of baseball operations, which is he fulfills the same role, but it's a promotion basically in name only. But it just it's like some other high profile GMs have gotten the reward of being promoted to president of baseball operations, but it also allows for their assistant GMs to be promoted to general managers, in which case it's easier for them to retain those employees, because in order for like an executive to be hired, they have to be promoted. So if Justin Hollander were hired by another team, he would have to start out as president of baseball operations, and it raises the question, if Jerry Dipoto were to leave and Justin Hollander were to stay, would he require that he be promoted to president of baseball operations in order to stay? And who would be his general manager? Would it be, I think Scott Hunter might be an interesting choice. There's multiple people. Andy McKay, maybe even. There's some people in the Mariners organization who could fulfill that role. But I think ideally, in the first place, the Mariners make the playoffs in 2024. I mean, that's at least what I'm hoping for, is that the Mariners make the playoffs in 2024, and Scott Servais and Jerry Dipoto are able to stay. That's what I want for certain. I think that the farm system that they are building and that they have built is like only on the rise as well. There's so many just tremendous young players who I think are going to continue to develop, and I believe there's absolutely quality major leaguers in the lower minors for the Mariners right now. And it would be really sad if Dipoto and his scouting service are not able to see all of that come to fruition. So that's about it for today's video. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I hope you appreciate the new thumbnail that I worked on with my dad. Thank you to my dad for helping me with that. But this is I just wanted to make this video because I think this is all really, really interesting information, and it only raises the stakes for the 2024 Mariners season. Thank you for watching.